We're back for another mini episode. Mandy and Amani, what shall we speak about today, Mandy?
Amani, I want you to do all the talking. I, everybody, Amani was yelling, giving feedback on how close I talk to my microphone. So I'm trying to talk real close. Amani, I want to hear about MPI last week, WEC.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was in St. Louis. I've got a whole bunch of questions. So I guess first and foremost, explain what WEC is, what MPI is, and then I'll kind of spawn from there if that's okay with you.
Of course. WEC, World Education Congress, is like MPI's, which is Meeting Professionals International. It's like their big domestic event for the year. They had about 2,000 people there attending. Another 300 were on the virtual audience. And it's just a collection of education, keynotes. They have a really big exhibit hall there. They have a like a digital experience. And it was in St. Louis. We were downtown at the convention center, and so St. Louis was just showing us all the different places around the city. And so I attended as an attendee. I also was the digital host for the third year in a row. I had a keynote session with Taylor Smith from Meetings Today and myself, and I had a book event on the front end.
Amani, I can't even believe you're upright right now. Like you've got to be so tired from all of that. That's amazing.
Yes,
What you interviewed 28 people. So
correct.
if you were to think off the top of your head, like a couple key nuggets from the people that you interviewed, whether it's a content they shared or the actual person, like who are a couple interviews that jump out at you?
One that jumps out right away is I interviewed Simone Four. She's a local pastry chef and she owns this bakery. And one of my favorite moments for the entire interviews I did was we talked about the whole Drake versus Kendrick Lamar battle. And
Mhm.
she had a Kendrick Lamar pastry and she had a Drake pastry. And just the way she was describing it was so on point. It was beautiful because like the Drake one was like salty and there was stuff in there, whatever. And then the Kendrick one was like really nice and chocolate, but inside it had mustard. So there were so many layers to what she was describing. It was hilarious. So that was fun. That was interesting. Um, and then there were just some other interviews. Like I interviewed a local artist, Kababi Bayak, who was really fun. Um, One that was pretty notable was I interviewed Dr. Temple Grandin, who's really, really famous in the, I guess you'll say, like animal health space and also talking
Interesting.
about autism. She
Mm.
was very interesting. Who else? There was a bunch of good ones. We interviewed the people from San Antonio where WEC is going to be next year. We interviewed the Visit St. Louis team. I interviewed Corey, which was really fun because she's kind of my boss with MPI. So we talked
Mhm.
about that. We had some people in there talking about content, Reverb team. So those are some that kind of jump off the page. No offense if I missed anyone there listening, but I'm trying to think.
It's a lot to
Larry
remember.
Long Jr. was there. He's been a
Oh, he's
past guest of
fun.
ours.
Larry's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you so explain what does that look like? Like when a conference puts on when they incorporate a digital podcast into their conference, like what did that look like for you? Where were you? Where were you placed? What time of day did the interviews take place? Like how did that work out?
Okay. Good question. So we were located kind of in the middle, towards the middle back of the trade show floor, connected to the MPI booth. So there was a lot of foot traffic around us. You had like the chairs. There was like a four-camera setup around us. So it was lights. So it was obvious there was interviews going on, and there was TV screens around the exterior of the interview, so people could walk by and watch and scan a QR code. I think next year we're going to add seating if people want to sit and watch because some people expected that. And so that's how it looked. We started our first interviews live, so we go live within the app. So if people buy the digital experience, I think it was free this year actually, but if people get the digital experience, they can watch it on the app. They can also stream it on the LinkedIn page and Facebook page. We started Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then we came back Wednesday at 2:45 to 4. Then they had the open general session. Then Thursday morning, we started at 7:45 to 9. Then Friday morning, we started at 7:45 to 9, and then 2:45 to 4. So
Okay,
15
so you
minute
were, like,
increments.
before and after the main sessions
Yes.
kinda thing. Yeah, that's
Yes,
great.
yes,
That's
15
good.
minute increments for interviews.
That's
Yeah.
good. And then were people was it lights, camera, action? Like, were people gathered around watching kinda thing? Like, did it draw people into the booth, or what was the how
Yeah,
did
a
that
little bit.
help visibility?
People were drawn to it a little bit, or they'd walk by and you see them taking pictures, or they were like they take like video for their Instagram or whatever. And so it was notable. People would walk by and look, especially if they knew someone that was being interviewed. So it drew some attention. It wasn't like crowded, but it was still good because people would walk back and forth, or they stand far away and watch. And we were in between two of the bonfire sessions where people are they might have some breakouts, so they might go to their breakout, then come back. So it was interesting. And then we started so early in the morning, sometimes people weren't there until the end. So people might come at like 8:30, 8:45 because they were headed to the general session. So
Mm.
it depended on what time we were there.
Gotcha. Okay, what about content? So did you participate in any it sounds like you were busy. Like did you see any of the keynotes or did you see any of the sessions? Like who jumped out at you? What were your takeaways from
So
that?
I saw all of the keynotes, um, which were good. I really appreciate Dr. Temple Grandin. She was very authentic. She was complaining about, I think, a Hilton, the Aloft Hotel. She didn't like the way they prepare their meals, so she was very public about that. Our last keynote, Daniel Lewis, was energetic. He had a good keynote there. So they were good. They were good keynotes. It was pretty much, yeah, there wasn't anything too crazy. Oh, our guys Freestyle Plus were there. So Freestyle Plus were there on stage.
Oh,
They did
good.
they
Did you
did
get to
really
interact
well.
with them?
Yes, they actually came by before for an interview, so we have an interview with
Good.
them. I still have to
Free
cut up all the interviews and share them out too, but they were there. It was funny. They had, I think her name is Malia. Hope I get your name right. She was like a world champion beatboxer, so they dropped a freestyle during our interview on stage. They were phenomenal. They were one of my favorites. I forgot completely about them, but
They
they
are
were really
always
good.
so phenomenal. That is
Yeah,
like, if you're looking
yeah,
for a killer keynote speech,
yeah.
Freestyle Plus. Yeah, they are so
Yeah, they
great.
they did phenomenal. Vivek, Mikey, and her, they were great. They were great. They were probably my favorites.
Good.
I was trying to get them to come at the end of our keynote or our breakout session with Taylor, but they had to leave early.
Mhm.
Um, so they were the other keynotes. So those were the four keynotes that we had. So yeah, yeah, it was good. It
Awesome.
was good.
Was there any conversation about, travel and the uncertainty in the world at all? Did they talk about that at all, or were there any mummerings? Not maybe not content sessions, but just conversations people were having about, like, demand?
Yeah, they were conversations. I just missed them because I was so hopping from place to place. There were
Yeah,
certain breakouts that talked about them. They mentioned it sometimes on stage. I'd have to go back to rewatch some of the sessions, but that was a topic. I'm sure people were talking about it a lot. I just didn't catch much of it
yeah.
either. Yeah.
Was the attendance, like, flat, up, down? Did anybody mention that at all either? I was
I think it
curious.
was flat compared to last year. Last year they had
Okay,
2,000 in Louisville. I think it was 1,900 this year. So
okay.
flat,
Yeah,
which is not so bad considering, the economic state that we're in.
yeah.
Um, So yeah, I think that next year they're expecting more in San Antonio. Um, yeah, those are kind of my initial thoughts so far. But the city did well, MPI did well, good content, lots of different sessions. People who attended could get 13 CEUs for their CMP.
It's great.
Um,
What did you
yeah,
think
the
about
city.
St. Louis as a city? Like,
So
what surprised you about the city?
I lived there in my summers, but so I know a little bit about the city, but I live kind of away from downtown. But they love their toasted ravioli. We know that. So they love that there.
I didn't know
I
that.
went
I
to
love
Bush
toasted
Stadium,
ravioli.
the baseball stadium, which was beautiful. So that was good. They had a good live band at Rendezvous the second to last night. We had the president's dinner that was at the Hilton Union Station. The Hilton did a good job there. So you got to see a lot of things. It was pretty much things were pretty close. I love the soccer stadium they have there. The St. Louis City, which is majority female owned, by the way. Th
Awesome.
They have a beautiful soccer stadium there. That was probably my favorite landmark that I didn't even visit it, I just drove past it, but I could tell already, it was like, "Whoa." Beautiful stadium there because it's right near, I think it's very close to Washington University in St. Louis,
Mhm,
and so, yeah, yeah, that was probably, my favorite landmark, so to speak, newer one
mhm.
that I had seen there. Um, yeah, but the city did well, city well, like not security, but they just had good buses, good transport. It was pretty quick to get around. They did well.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear it. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel very informed after hearing the roundup from you. So thank you for
Yes.
sharing. And congratulations on being the digital host again. I know that's a huge lift for you, and
Hmm.
it's a great y- it is just so important that conferences incorporate podcast or live shows or some sort of digital streaming. And I'm sure the fact that you've done this 3 years now, it just makes it so much easier for them to rely on you and count on you to do it, and I'm sure it just gets better and better every year. So just
Yeah.
congratulations on a
Yeah. Yeah.
successful MPI for what you had been doing.
Yeah. I have to shout out Grit Productions. They're ones who provide the cameras, do all behind the scenes, do the producing, everything. It's so funny. We laugh, particularly Corey Elford from MPI and I. We laugh because we have come so far from when we did it first time at Cancun, when
Mhm.
we didn't have Grit's help, so we were kind of hodgepodging it together. And to see how far we've come with our studio and everything, it is amazing and it's beautiful, and we're so happy. So it just looks good, and you can tell by the quality of video and everything when you see the clips. It's like chef's kiss.
Yeah, when we know more, we do better. You just get better
Exactly.
every year. It's great.
Yes. Yeah. So that's amazing. And can't wait for next year once I rest.
Well, on that note, let's end this mini episode so you can go to bed. Go to bed, get your pancakes, and I'll talk to you next week.
Yes. Night time. Thank you. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Make sure you share this with a friend, leave us a review, and we will see you next week for another mini.
See
Bye,
you next
everyone.
week. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.